If you have yoga blocks or a blanket or anything that you wanted to pull beside your mat, I always like to have those things handy. You never know, and I just like to have them there so that you can really meet yourself exactly where you are in your practice today. And so that's how we'll begin, is just meeting ourselves where we're at. And I really want to invite you to take a minute of freedom to start to drop in. And I'll offer a few things to do that, but really find your own way here. Find what feels good to you. And you can take a few deep breaths, especially letting that exhale release out through the mouth. Last week we did a practice where we started by running the hands all over the body, just getting kind of a sense of touch and comfort for yourself. It might feel good to take some organic movement or a shimmy shake or make some noise. So take 5 more breaths just for yourself to land here. When these last 2 breaths begin to settle, get a little quieter so that you can start to observe the sounds around you, maybe a sound you hadn't noticed before. Begin to drop into a quieter breath in and out through the nose. And find a place to rest your hands and your arms. Bring awareness into your sits bones. If it helps, give a wiggle to your seat and feel yourself anchoring in. You might even pull the fleshy area out from under you to feel even more grounded. And really drop into those sits bones as if they're an anchor to a boat. And then allow the rest of the body to float above that anchor. To find a lightness in the spine and a natural alignment that comes from the grounding all the way up to the surface of the head. Don't worry about having perfect posture or breathing in the perfect way. Just dropping into what it feels like to come into our very first posture tonight, Sukhasana, easy seat. We'll take 5 more breaths in silence. Just notice without judgment the best that you can. Notice where you're at now in your awareness. Maintain this meditative breath for just a while longer. Follow where your attention is drawn with awareness. There's times on our mats, there's times off of our mats where our attention gets pulled in many different directions. And I just like to remind us here and now that that's a natural part of our brain, a function of our brain and senses, and that this practice of yoga teaches us and reminds us that we do have awareness and that we can use that to bring ourselves back into center. Just being aware of where your attention goes in any moment. There's no good or bad, right? There might be a sound that at first seems frustrating or annoying, but it's just a sound. Let your awareness of that bring you back into your center, letting the sound simply be there. There's nothing we can do about that. Shifting your awareness and your attention to your breath. And that process happens again and again and again. And we're okay with that. As I hear myself speaking right now, it's kind of reminding me of what the end of my day was like. I was sharing it with Catherine in the beginning. Towards the end of the day, I really felt pulled in just so many different directions. My attention was being I was becoming overwhelmed, I think. Just the sights, the sounds, everything. Driving, working, meeting, shopping. And it's such a blessing to have this space to practice coming back into your center. Let's begin with some gentle movement here, dropping the chin to the chest. Just let the head hang heavy for a moment. And then start to find some half circles through the neck, tracing chin along the collarbone, bringing one ear towards the shoulder, dropping the chin back down and rolling around to the other side. You'll find your own pace. Take your time. Follow your own breath and body. Maybe finding some moments to pause, hold, breathe into any stickiness. As we start to weave together our breath and movement, I invite you to call in one more piece to this practice, which is your intention. And considering for a moment here, what kind of energy do you want to call into this practice? What word will guide every thought and action today? So just let that question sink in. What energy do you need today in this moment? And continue to roll around the neck. If it feels good to you, you might roll all the way around, but really just following that own inner guidance and opening up the space for a word and energy to make itself known to you for this practice. In your next breath or two, bring your head back to center. Sit up nice and tall, crown lifts, sits bones ground, and focus in on that word or energy. Trust whatever comes up. Remind yourself of this word throughout your practice today, and I'll give you cues to be reminded of that. And every time that you're reminded of this energy, it's an invitation to call back all of those pieces of yourself, to let this energy, this word, be your guide to call back everything into your center. Take your arms out to your sides, like the sides of a mountain. Your fingertips can just graze the mat. And then drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. Let's get a little bit more into the neck here. And then lift up your left hand, and you can flex your left fingers back so that you press out through the heel of your hand. And imagine you have a doorknob at that left hand and start to spin that doorknob both directions. You might move around your jaw a little bit if it feels kind of cranky or stuck. And then pause that movement. Press out through the heel of the hand one more time. Take one more breath here. Open up the hand if you can. And then drop the left fingers down, bring the head through center, and switch sides, left ear, left shoulder. Lift up the right hand. Flex your fingertips back and start to press through the heel of the hand, opening up the thumb and the pinky finger, softening the left shoulder. Imaginary doorknob here, start to spin that knob. And then flex the hand one more time, really open up across the palm. Soften the jaw, the shoulders, one more full breath here. And release, bring the fingers down to the mat, bring the head back to center, lift your arms all the way up and overhead. Feel your spine taking a stretch. Interlace fingers at the top and press your palms up to the sky. You can take your gaze up, really stretch through the torso. Deep breaths. You might find yourself taking an audible breath here, letting out a sigh, relaxing the jaw, and an invitation here to remind yourself of that energy or that word that you're calling in today. Open up your hands now. Keep the arms lifted, but like an open channel, imagine that energy, imagine that word pouring down into you, like you're a conduit of that energy. And we'll bring the palms together and seal that in right at the heart. Thumbs come into the front of the chest. Eyes can be soft or closed, a humble bow of the chin. And here we give a simple nod of gratitude, just repeating to yourself or out loud, thank you, thank you, thank you. Allow the corners of the lips to curl up into a smile, and then release your hands down. Let's come on over onto tabletop, all fours. Stretch out your hands again like stars. And grip the fingertips into the mat a few times. Knees right under the hips. You can tuck the toes or not. Find what feels good here. And we'll just start to move the spine now in cow and cat. Lowering the belly as you inhale, chest draws forward. And exhale, round the spine, chin to chest, tailbone drawing underneath of you. We'll continue to go through this pattern of breath and movement, finding your own pace. If one side of this movement feels better than the other, then maybe just hold it there, right? That's what it is to meet yourself on your mat, exactly where you are today. Maybe cow is more needed than cat or vice versa. So you can hold and breathe into whatever feels good to your body. This is the process of coming back into your center, right? Finding what it is that you need tonight. Maybe the breath even reverses. That's okay too. You can explore. And while we're in that exploring mode, you can take it off the railroad tracks, going side to side, finding a little C curve through the spine or wagging the tail. And then we'll take it back to child's pose. Knees go a little wider, big toes touch, hips to heels, walk your fingertips forward and bow your head to the mat. Take a nice deep breath here. Let it go. Again, in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. Let it go. Something else lets go here. Soften, release. And a couple more quiet breaths for yourself. Sometimes it feels good to rock the head side to side here, massaging the third eye. Especially as we come into a new season, sometimes those sinuses flare up, so just giving a little self-massage. On your next breath in, round your spine forward through cat and back into tabletop. Bring your knees back underneath of you. And then send your right leg back behind you, toes on the ground, and just take a little rock forward and backwards. Cross those right toes over your left leg. So you're kind of on the left side of your mat now, finding a big C curve through the spine. Look over your left shoulder. Maybe you find those toes. And you can press back through your heel, kind of pulsing through the heel. Then find a place to hold and just breathe into the stretch, opening up through the ribs. Now we're going to take this right leg all the way out to the right side of the mat. So you'll bring it through center and then all the way out to the right like a gate pose. Look forward, lower the belly into a cow position. Lift your heart. And then reverse that into cat. Round the spine, tuck the tailbone and chin under. And then just come back to a neutral spine. We're going to find an open twist. Right arm comes up to the sky. Threading the needle, send it underneath of your left arm. We're not going to come all the way down. We're just going to stretch that upper back. Inhale, lift the arm back up to a twist. And exhale, halfway, thread the needle. One more time, inhale up. Exhale, thread it under. And then just release the right hand to the mat. Switch sides. Right knee comes in. Left leg shoots back. A little rock forward and backwards. Again, grip the fingertips. Lift your left heel. Step it over top of your right leg so you find that C curve. Step into the outside of your mat. And then look over the right shoulder. Notice, observe your body. Usually we have these little areas of tension. We might all hold them in different spots. So sometimes I'll notice it in my jaw. Sometimes I'll notice it in my shoulders. So just being conscious of where you hold that tension, even in some of these simpler poses, especially in these poses, because it's going to show up in the harder ones if it shows up here. Okay, we're going to take it out the other way into that gate pose again. So slide that leg all the way out to the left side of your mat. Grounding the foot. And then one cycle of cow and cat. Nice and slow. Inhale, draw the chest forward. And exhale, send the spine up. Back to a neutral spine. Left arm comes to the sky. Breathe in. Exhale, thread it underneath of your right arm. Good. Inhale up. Exhale, thread under. One more time. Left hand comes by the right. Bring the knees back underneath of you. Tuck your toes and lift your knees off the mat, hovering tabletop. Just for a minute here, engage through your core, feel that center activation. We want our strength to really come from that deep core, not the six-pack core, but deep into the space behind the belly button. Press your hips back to your heels, and then lift up your hips into downward facing dog. You might have to widen your stance, so take whatever adjustments you need. And start to pedal through the heels. Bend one knee, reach through the opposite foot. You can shake your head yes and no. You can find total freedom here to move in the way you need to move. Maybe a deep breath feels good here. You can play with that sound, fluttering the lips. Take a walk to the front of your mat, forward fold. Let the torso hang. You can hold on to opposite elbows, generous bend in the knees. Torso can sway side to side or forward, backwards. Release the elbows, bend the knees a lot, and roll the spine up to stand. For more support, walk your hands up the legs. Head is the last thing to rise. Shoulders roll down and back. Ground into your feet. Bring the hands behind the back and interlace the fingers. Draw the knuckles down. Press into your feet and lift up through the high heart. Breathe space and your energy of choice right into that heart center. Release the arms, bring the head back to center. Sweep your arms up and overhead. Hold on to the left wrist, standing half moon. Reach up and over, side bend, staying really grounded into the feet. We'll move with the breath here. Inhale through center. Hold on to the right wrist, side bend over the other way. Inhale, come through center, lift all the way up at the top, and then interlace your fingers and press the palms up to the sky, kind of like we did when we were sitting earlier. Deep breath. Hands come down behind the head. The fingers are still interlaced. Space your feet at least as wide as your hips, maybe a little bit wider, and a little bend in your knees. We're just going to take a little twist here. So let's rotate to the right and just hold it here. Come through center, breathe in, twist to the left. And you'll feel the legs twist a little bit as well, that's all fine. Come back through center, inhale, arms come up and overhead. Exhale, twist to the right, this time with the arms open. Inhale, come up through center. Exhale, twist to the left. Little bend in the knees. We'll do that again. Inhale, center, twist to the right, open. Inhale, center, twist left. Inhale, center. This time forward fold, swan dive. Take it all the way down. Let the head hang. Step your left foot back into a runner's lunge. Keep the knee lifted. You might bring in blocks under the hands here or balance on fingertips. Feel the strength of the legs start to fire up here. The first breath is like, yeah, okay, this is easy, maybe. But then holding it here and really finding integrity, balancing the weight in the foot, finding the nuances of this pose, squaring off in the hips, lengthening the spine, relaxing the shoulders, maybe taking a deeper bend in the knee. Now let's add on our twist. Left hand stays down, right arm comes up to the sky. Nice big twist here, hold it open. Release, right hand comes down. We're gonna walk around to the long edge of the mat in a wide leg forward fold. Take a full breath here in the middle, letting the head go. And then continue to journey around to the back edge of your mat into a runner's lunge the opposite way. Now this time you're gonna really plant into the feet just like we did on the first side. So feel that strength. And then we're gonna hover the hands. So sweep the arms back on alongside your torso. From here, come into high lunge, crescent lunge. Reach your arms up and overhead. The hips stay square. You might find a little bend in that back knee. Feel the shoulder blades gliding back and down. Now moving with your breath, inhale at the top, exhale, flying lunge, lean forward, arms sweep back. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, sweep the arms back, flying lunge. One more time, inhale, crescent, flying lunge, exhale, cartwheel open to warrior two. Pivot that back heel down and open all the way up. Very nice. Peaceful warrior. Extended side angle, elbow to the thigh, and reach out through that right arm. Use the strength of the legs to stand all the way up, straight legs. Point your toes towards the long edge of your mat. Point your toes towards the front edge of your mat. Warrior two, bend into that front knee. And then just cartwheel your hands down to the mat. Step back into plank pose. Lower your knees to the mat, half plank. Find your alignment, grip into the fingertips. We're gonna do 5 half push-ups here, but before you start, I want you to remind yourself of that word of choice, that energy today, and bring it into this strength. Let it come right into your center. Let's begin 5 times. Breathe in at the top. Exhale halfway down. Breathe in, up, out, down. 3, 4, one more, 5, press back up, and then lower all the way down. So a sneaky 6th one. Baby cobra, send those toes back, hug your elbows in and lift up your head and chest. Holding here. And release. Press up into tabletop. Tuck your toes. Hovering tabletop. Hips press back to the heels and then peel your hips up, downward facing dog. Take your time, feel it out for a second time. Notice if it feels a little different this go around. Maybe you start to move into more stillness. Scan your body. Scan your mind. Being able to scan both tells us that we're not either one. Instead, it's a deeper awareness. Take a walk, step, or a hop to the front of your mat, forward fold. Let it go. Inhale to reverse swan dive. And exhale, hands come through center and down into Tadasana. Let's begin again, other side. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, folding down. Step your right foot back into your lunge, holding here. So just like we did on the other side, we're going through that same sequence, and we're going to take a moment here to let that strength build and awareness of what's required to be in integrity here. Notice the quality of your mind as things start to get a little heated or challenging. Call in that energy. And in fact, rather than calling it in, maybe you're calling it up from within. Let's add in our twist here. Right hand stays down, left arm comes up to the sky. Open up nice and wide and hold it here. Keep that right thigh lifted. Nice, love the wrist circles, great add on there. Left hand comes down to the mat. Walk around to the long edge. Take your fold, one breath in the middle. And then walk around to the back edge of your mat. Runner's lunge. Lengthen your spine. Hover your hands, flying lunge. Connect to your core, connect to that center point as you start to move with your breath here. Inhale, rise all the way up, crescent lunge. Make sure that the low back feels okay here, that you're not overarching or crimping the back. Then we'll begin to move with the breath. So taking a nice big inhale at the top. Exhale, move from center, flying lunge. Inhale to rise. Exhale, flying lunge. Inhale up. Exhale, flying lunge. This time we'll come up into our warrior two. So pivot that back heel down and cartwheel all the way open. Continue to move with your breath. Peaceful warrior. Extended side angle. Energy from left foot to left fingertips. Use the strength of your legs, rise all the way up, turn towards the long edge of your mat. We're gonna take a little different pose here. We're gonna find goddess pose this time. So turn those heels in, toes point out, and squat. Imagine you're about to give a great big hug to a great big tree so that you sort of feel this like dome through your chest, right? Your shoulders have to open wide. Just a little bit longer, breathe. Then strengthen the legs, stand all the way up, turn towards the front edge of your mat and cartwheel those hands down. Step back to plank pose. Lower the knees. This time we have a side plank. So let's start with the right hand down. You can pivot your right foot off the mat for a half plank, or if you want to keep it lifted, go ahead and take whatever version works for you here. Hand could be at hip, it could be lifted overhead, or even extended. We're going to play a little bit from this position. So start by really finding the strength in this right shoulder. Make sure you're not collapsing into it, but really engaging and kind of pressing into that whole hand, feeling the entire arm working. It doesn't matter which version of plank you're in either. We can do this either way. We're going to lift up the left foot and then step back into a rock star. So that left foot comes off the mat and we're going to press up the hips and lift up through the heart, a little back bending action. And start to come out of that pose, bringing that left foot back. Come into tabletop or plank if you're keeping both knees lifted. We'll go right into the other side. Left foot pivots off the mat. Side plank. Lift the right foot. Step up and off your mat. Rock star. Lift your hips. And start to bring it back, bring the hand around, the foot around, and into tabletop. And this time we're going to go into child's pose so we can all drop the knees, hips to heels. Let your arms be like a pillow underneath of your head. Slow it down. Take 5 breaths in silence. extend your arms. Come forward into tabletop. And let's cross the ankles, or you can swing your legs out to the side. Come down to your seat. And extend your legs in front of you. Make sure you have some room behind you. You can position yourself towards the middle of the mat. Taking a staff pose or dandasana, the palms are going to try their best to plant into the mat right beside your hips. The feet are pressing forward, the backs of the legs are pressing down. Finding a pretty active pose here. It requires strength through your core. And again, it's much deeper than that six-pack core, right? We're lifting up from the pelvic floor, lifting up through the spine, lifting up through the heart, and even lifting up through the crown of the head. Yeah. Now see if you can hold, and if this is really challenging, we always have the option to bend the knees. That'll soften that, or that'll bring some ease into the low back if that's really tight or locked up. You might also bring a blanket underneath of you. So wherever you're at here in Dandasana, see if you can maintain that core and then lift your arms right up past the ears towards the sky. Taking a fold from here, hinge from the hips, hinge, hinge, hinge. When you don't hinge anymore, let the hands come down, let them fall wherever they may, and then soften the head and settle into your fold. I'm going to hold here for about 5 to 7 breaths. Really tapping into the awareness practice, scanning through the body and letting yourself drop in breath by breath. Calling all the pieces of you home. Check in with where you're at. Maybe you inch forward or ease into it a little more. Maybe you've gone too far and you find that it would be helpful to back up. We'll start to down regulate for this evening and enjoy some stretches. You might choose to close your eyes. One more breath. And slowly bring yourself back up. Bend your knees and roll down to your back. You can hold onto the backs of the knees for support, one vertebra at a time. When you get down to the ground, hug your knees into the chest. You might need to remove a hair tie or a clip. Just make sure that you can really release all the way down, finding a gentle rock side to side. Keep the right knee hugging in. Send your left leg down the mat. Or as an alternative, you could keep that left knee bent. That just depends how your lower back and hips feel here. And give that right knee a nice squeeze. Send your right leg up to the sky. You can hold behind the thigh, or if you had a strap handy, you could hook that around your foot. Or for some of you, you might be able to hold on to your big toe. Then rebend your knee and open it up to the right for a side lying, or a, how do we want to call this? A back lying tree, fallen tree. We're going to position that right foot on the inseam of the left leg. So literally like you would take tree pose standing, we're going to do that on the back. And then opening the arms into that funnel shape, again, just like you would in tree pose. And a little action, pressing out through the left foot. Just a little action through the legs. And start to really settle into that. You might even let go of that initial action through the legs. Let it all go. Inviting some spaciousness into the region of the pelvis, in between the hips. Slowly, slowly start to lift your right knee up so that the sole of your right foot is on the ground. And then press out through your right heel. You might even feel a little stickiness of your mat. Press your right heel down and out until it meets its partner at the bottom of the mat. Bring your feet together. Try to find a level, try to find levelness in your heels. Press out through the soles of the feet evenly. Then draw your left knee in towards the chest. Give it a nice squeeze. And then open that foot up towards the sky. Open the back of the leg. You might roll the ankles around. Rebend the knee, and then we'll find our resting tree, our fallen tree. Letting the left knee fall out to the side and placing the left foot somewhere along the inseam of the leg. A little action to start, pressing out through the right heel. And then you can open up your arms to the tree-like shape, the branches. And when you're ready, let go of all of the action, all of the effort. Let it melt away. Slowly start to lift your left knee up. Left foot is on the mat. And then press your left heel down to meet its partner. Press out through both of the feet. Reach your arms all the way overhead and interlace your fingers one more time tonight. Pressing the palms of the hands up and away. The heels of the feet down. A deep breath. Let it go. Bend the knees. Take your arms out into a T shape. Bump your right hip to the center of the mat. Draw your knees in towards your chest and then roll over to the right into a twist. Option to place a hand on top of the thigh, and maybe the gaze goes over to the left. Switching sides, start to bring your knees back to center. Left hip comes to center of the mat. Knees draw to the chest, roll to the left. Gaze can go to the right. Gaze back to center, knees come into the center. Draw your knees in towards the chest. One hand comes onto each knee. We're going to circle the knees away from each other, drawing big circles. Switch directions. And then place the feet on the mat. Hands come by your side for one bridge pose this evening. Press into your feet, lift up your hips. We're not finding a huge back bend, just a straight line from shoulders to knees. Breathe into the belly. Now squeeze your glutes a lot. Squeeze those glutes and then relax the glutes. We're going to do that a couple of times. Squeeze the glutes, relax the glutes, squeeze and relax. Let the spine roll down one segment at a time. Take your legs down the mat. We have one more stretch here before Shavasana. Banana asana. Walk both feet to the right corner of your mat and cross the left ankle over the right. Arms come overhead. Walk towards the upper right corner of your mat. So we're forming this sort of banana shape on the mat and opening up that whole left side of the body. You can hold onto your left fingertips or left wrist. And really settle into the mat here. Try not to hold up anything. If you remember from energy medicine class, we've got this spleen line that comes through the belly and the ribs over here. This is a nice big stretch for the spleen energy to help us digest and assimilate. Among many other meridians actually that run down the outside of the leg, we have some yang meridians running down like stomach and bladder. Check in, scan your body, scan your mind. Drop into that energy that you've been cultivating tonight and let it flood through your body every breath you take. All right, one more side. Start to uncross the feet. Bring everything back through center and to the other side. Wiggling over into that banana shape. Right ankle crosses over left. Hold on to the right wrist. Deep breath might help to let go. Try to enjoy these final moments. I always find that gratitude is a really powerful agent for enjoying something. Just appreciating this moment, this breath, Let your awareness be bright and awake as you allow any remaining tension to melt, to come into its wholeness of ease. No one part of you has to carry it all. Whenever you feel ready, let's come back to center. You can use the edges of your mat to help find alignment. The center of your mat. Let your arms rest by your sides. Shoulder blades down the back. Toes can splay out. Soft eyes drop into the eye sockets. Any pressure of the sinuses drops down into the face. Corners of the mouth soften down towards the ears. Ears soften down towards the ground. Corners of the eyes melt towards the temples. Center of the forehead melts towards the center of the brain. Center of the brain drops down into the spinal cord, relaxing shoulders, ribs, belly, hips to tailbone. Hands and feet holding imaginary sandbags. You have the next few breaths in silence. I'll guide us out together in a moment. You're always welcome to stay in Shavasana for as long as you'd like, whatever your body's asking for this evening. Or in meditative position after you do rise, always welcome to hold that space for yourself. If you are ready to move off your mat this evening, I invite you to take a little deeper breath, filled with that energy that you've cultivated this evening, even just repeating the word or visualizing a color for that energy, however it is that you can embody that energy, I invite you to do so now. However you can embody that through your thoughts, words, and actions as you move off your mat this evening. You might start to wiggle your fingers and toes into that energy. You might imagine that energy shining out from within, shining onto you from around you, creating this whole sphere of color and vibration, and wiggling your body into that field, into that vibration. And as you're ready, you can bend your knees, roll over to your side of choice, taking a mini pause before pressing yourself up to a cross-legged seat. Allowing yourself to breathe naturally, allowing that anchor to take root through your seat. Feeling your seat aligned right underneath of your heart, your head aligned over top of your heart, and then bringing your hands to the center of your heart. Calling in any last remaining pieces, calling it back into center in this moment now. To take a deep last breath together, breathing in. Let it go. Humble bow of your chin. You can close your practice in any way that you wish. I always like to offer this final moment of gratitude, thanking yourself for showing up, thanking one another, and thanking this yoga practice as a whole for everything that it's brought down to us in this moment and everything that we bring forward from here. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wish you a beautiful evening. And if you'd like, I'd love for you to share your energy or your word or whatever it was that came to mind. If something showed up for you, I think it's fun to share what that is. Mine was the first thing that was coming up with peace, but at the very end when I was really like embodying it, it was, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the word right now. Not quite acceptance, but tolerance. It was tolerance. It's feeling tolerance.